It's A1 sauce on the steak and A10 sauce in the octagon. It's the return of Jim Miller, the OG, the legend. Most fights in UFC history, 33-16-1, taking on the 12-3 Nikolas Motta, who is making his UFC debut. He looked great in that Contender Series last fight against Joseph Lowry, and this is a guy with just super fast hands. He's going to want to keep this thing standing. And I just love how they always match make Jim Miller against guys like this. Like let's see how good you are, Nicholas Motta. Throw him up against Jim Miller. Let's see what happens in this one. And I'm super excited for this one. 65% is rolling with Jim Miller, 35% is rolling with Motta. And it's pretty fascinating to note that, Jim Miller is a decent underdog in this one. So what are your thoughts on how this fight plays out, and what do you make out of the fact that Tapology is pretty bullish on the veteran A10 Miller, despite the odds leaning in Iron Mota's favor? What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, very interesting to see the discrepancy between the odds
Hmm.
makers and Tapology. Usually they're pretty hand to hand. Like if everyone's bullish on him, bullish on that, and they're like, pretty close. This is totally opposite. Everyone's going with Jim Miller, most submission, but the odds makers have it Iron Moda. So it'd be very interesting to see, especially for UFC debut. I mean, if you look at this kid's record, his last few fights, nothing too crazy, no big names, nothing crazy accomplished yet. And this would be a massive win if he gets it done over Jim Miller. I mean, Jim Miller's no joke. As we saw his last win, I mean, he's still looking like an absolute savage for his age and the time he's put into that ring. And I see this kind of being the same as his last fight. I think this is a levels test. I think he's going to smash. I think he's going to ground and pound. And I think he's going to get it done via submission. I don't know what the odds makers are seeing. Maybe we're all sleeping. But yeah, I just don't think Moda has a chance in this one, to be honest.
Yeah, right. It's the discrepancy is definitely fascinating, right? And Iron Moda is a guy with, as mentioned, super fast hands, very well rounded. But you tend to think that if Jim Miller, gets that grip on him, that he'll be able to get him to the mat. And Jim Miller is a serious black belt. He's got some serious grappling chops down there. And I think if and when he's able to get the fight where he wants the fight to take place, that he should be leaps and bounds above Nicholas Mota. One thing you were touching on the record of Mota and how nothing really stands out. I guess the one win that does stand out to me is how he was able to finish Joe Selecki, and then Joe Selecki, pretty much dominated Jim Miller. So they do have a common opponent. Perhaps odds makers are leaning into the fact that Mota was able to stop Selecki, whereas Selecki was able to beat Jim Miller. But MMA math always gets pretty tricky in that regard. As mentioned, though, 65% of Tapology rolling with Jim Miller. Majority of it is that copper submission. That's where I'm going tonight. I'm with you. I'm picking Jim Miller. I think it's going to be a levels test similar to that last fight against Eric Gonzalez. And I like him to get a submission in this one. I think it's floating around, plus 240, plus 250 for that A10 sub. And I think there's some decent value in that because he should have a decisive advantage there for sure. Any last thoughts on this one? I mean, maybe we're just missing Moda, but I think Jim Miller's too much of a level test. And coupled with the fact that, he showed some power in that last one, right? Like, Jim Miller doesn't have a lot of KO finishes, but he was looking crisp, he was looking fast, and he was able to put Eric Gonzalez out. So you love to see that sort of late power, even at 38 years old. So are we missing this one?
No, I don't think we're missing this one, but I'm excited to find out. That is for sure. This card is an absolute banger today. And throw in the comments, boys. Are we missing out? Are you guys with the odds makers? Are you with the meatheads and Tapology? Throw in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe and check out the rest of the videos.